that self-censorship is already there. And I find it staggering at the minute where we're literally, as a species, we're in the end times in the fact that we've got a fork now in the road. It's a make a choice. That you're still trying to maintain that bit of career rather than actually saying,
On to
no,
your
we're in
career.
war. It's extraordinary, isn't it?
How many people would have seen this show and see how good it looks and how good a presenter you are and say, well, I can't go on there now because Gareth has had a guy on who said this or he's had a woman on who said that. It's amazing. I remember earlier this year, Desmond Swain, last year, the Tory MP, came on my radio show, and I always tailor, the way I approach guys like that. You don't want to scare them off. But he was good, and he talked about his concerns about mandatory vaccination, his concerns about totalitarianism. And of course, afterwards, he was called in by his party, and he was warned not to ever come on again on a program like this. And like yourself, what you're saying there, this sends out a clear message to people that there will be career consequences for you if you don't do what you're told and avoid the independent media. Of course, the worst of that is you hit the nail on the head there. Pretty soon there won't be any careers. I'll tell you where I think this is going, guys. And I've known you for years, and I've known your family for years. And not that you've ever needed me to promote your content. You never did need me to do it. But I do, because you've never peddled fear. You've never peddled fear porn in your life. You talk to people with an alternative point of view. And I gave that preamble because I tell you where I think this is going and why their careers ultimately are worthless. This is going to a place within the next couple of years where they'll knock on your door and they'll ask you to come with them. That, look, enough of your silliness now. Come quietly, be a good person. You're going to have your shot. And I know that sounds absolutely insane. I know it sounds terrifying. But listening to de Blasio in New York City, listening to Johnson, listening to them yesterday talking about jabbing 16 and 17-year-olds and then moving down to the 12-year-olds, the inevitable conclusion of this program is that at some stage in the next few years, they send a health worker and a constable around to the refuseniks' house to say, look, we can't put up with it anymore. You're a danger. It doesn't matter. You've got to come with us. And I say that to anybody who says, because I get it all the time, I'd like to come on, Richie. It seems like a nice radio show. It seems like you're a decent bloke, but I'll be hammered for coming on with you. And I think, you silly person, you've got a very high profile. You might turn one or two heads. Why don't you use the platform? And like you said, guys, that career is not going to be there in a couple of years anyway. Twitter has taken on Orwell's Ministry of Truth, Twitter and Facebook, because they've got billions of users. And if anybody who's read 1984, they will know that the Ministry of Truth in the world, in the fictional world, it doesn't disperse truth. It's a misnomer. In fact, it just puts out propaganda and lies. And I think Twitter has taken on that mantle. It also is responsible, I think, these days for newspeak. Again, an Orwell creation. Words and phrases that don't make any sense. And that those words and phrases, they reduce very complex issues to a few simple phrases or absolutes like transphobia, like fake news. These things don't really mean anything. And what they do is they eliminate any real debate. The trans issue is not to be going down this road, but it's a very complex issue with lots of different opinions and lots of different feelings on it. But what Twitter and Facebook reduces it to is binary choice. You're either with it or you're against it. And I think that's what it's become. I think it is the embodiment these days of Orwell's Ministry of Truth.